Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name's Joanne and I'm a Muslim mum of 3 children and I home educate those 3 children here in the UK. So following up on my series of what my children are doing at home this year, I thought I'd show you what my 4, nearly 5-year-old daughter will be getting up to. So for reception year at home, I tend to focus on reading rather than on writing and numeracy, although of course those things are still going on in the background. But most of the resources you're going to see here are linked to phonics and to reading fluency. Just a bit of background for the sake of the video. My eldest son went to reception for 6 months. And in that time he learnt to read, and when he came out I used some of these resources here to help him develop his fluency in reading. And then my middle son didn't go to school. He did his whole reception year at home because we'd already deregistered his older brother by then, and he actually learnt to read about 6 months earlier than he would have started school because he was keen to do so with his older brother being able to read. And so my daughter is, like I say, 4 and would be going to school in September if she weren't home educated. In England, you don't have to educate your children until the term after they turn 5. So in home education terms, she wouldn't be compulsory school age until January. However, most people obviously send their children to school and they go the year they turn 5, and so they end up going in the September before they are actually compulsory school age. So all that being said, I will show you the resources we have to teach my daughter to read at home. The first resource we have, which I don't have on me in a physical form, is a subscription to Reading Eggs. My middle son used Reading Eggs extensively to learn how to read, and so when my daughter a few months ago said she wanted to learn how to read, that was the first thing I picked up for her. And we got our subscription back. We resubscribed and I downloaded it onto an iPad. She did a few lessons and then got a little bit frustrated because she wasn't quite ready to blend at that point. So in phonics, blending is when you read the words and say you've got t, and to be able to blend those letters together is what you need to do to make mat. She couldn't do that, so she could, she learnt from Reading Eggs that M says A says T says T, but she couldn't blend those letters together yet. So she came off of Reading Eggs for a few months, which is absolutely fine. But of course, the moment I unsubscribed from Reading Eggs, she wanted to go back on. And so I resubscribed, and now she's back on. She is able to blend. So I think she just needed a few more months to wait to be ready to go back on that program. Now she's back on that program. She's doing quite well. Another thing she's recently learned is to identify the starting letter of a word. So B for ball, S for sat, T for table, that sort of thing. And so she's getting on with Reading Eggs okay at the moment, but I am aware, as you always are with your children, that she may have to pause at some point, and if she does, that's absolutely fine. There's no rush in learning how to read, but I've got some of these resources here that we are using during that sort of pausing time that I've been using while she was off Reading Eggs for a couple of months, and then others that she'll use as she progresses through the programme. So the first thing I have here to show you is our letter basket. We have recently started doing a letter of the week, and so I put a letter up on the chalkboard in its capital form and its lowercase form, and I tell her the sound that that letter makes, or double check that she knows the sound that letter makes, because obviously Reading Eggs is teaching her the same thing. And then I go around the house and just gather up a few things that begin with that letter. So this week we've got M, which obviously goes I have the lowercase sandpaper letters, which I made maybe 6 months ago for her. So they're all lowercase. So I've put the uppercase on in the corner, and then, like I said, I've put both letters on the chalkboard here in the playroom. And then in there, I've just placed a few things that begin with M, a mug, a man trying to escape, a measuring tape, makeup, marker. You get the idea. And so we just go through the letter basket a few times a week. And when I say letter of the week, if she hasn't understood the letter by the end of the week, if she can't tell me its sound, its main sound, and what it looks like in upper and lowercase form, then we'll just carry that letter on to the next week. Like I say, there's no rush. I want her to be really confident in recognising all of the letters of the alphabet by the end of this school year. So moving on from there, I think I will show you next this book that I got. I saw this book recommended in several videos online. A lot of homeschool mums seem to have taught their child to read with this book, and so I got it. I'm not sure that I'm going to go through every lesson with her because, like I say, she's using reading eggs, but I got it for ideas, really. So we've been through the first lesson together, and I have obviously flicked through the first few lessons by myself, and it just gives you activities to do with the child. Obviously it's supposed to be done in order, but you've got sounds introduction, so they introduce the letters. They have an activity called Say It Fast, which I thought was really good for blending. You like say something like motor boat slowly, and then you get the child to speed it up, so motorboat. So same sort of idea with blending letters, right, that you've got at. So I thought that was a really good activity, and I'm looking forward to at least flicking through here for ideas, even if we don't follow it to a T. Then I have these books, which I used actually with my eldest son more than I did my middle son. We used these books to support his learning at school at the time, and they were really good. So I've kept them, and like I said, I didn't really need them with my middle son. He wasn't interested in them, but I thought my daughter might be, and so I've held on to them. They're by Julia Donaldson, and we're big Julia Donaldson fans here, so I felt like we couldn't go wrong. They just start from really simple. This is stage 1, Tom got a pot. So my daughter wouldn't be at this level yet, but when she is, we will start there if she's interested and work up to, how many stages are there? 6 stages. So if I open a book, the end stage, you can see that there's a lot more writing, a lot more words. So they just gradually progress through the levels, and my son progressed through those really well during his reception year. And then once my eldest son, had gone through those, he moved on to these books, which my daughter, I've noticed, is already picking up and pretending to read to her dolls and teddies, which I've always taken as a really good sign of reading readiness. Those are the sorts of things I've been looking for in all my children to demonstrate that they might be ready to read. And so that's why we started on reading eggs, because she explicitly asked me to learn to read, but also I could see that coming because she was starting to pick up books and try and read them to teddies and dolls, and also seeing letters outside and trying to remember their sound, or asking what their sound was. So I take all of that to mean that my child is about ready to learn. And I'm sure there are some children, by the way, that are not ready at this age. And if you are a parent of one of those children, I don't think you should panic. I think you should just keep reading lovely books with them and keep reading as stress-free as you can until they do show want to read. So with my middle son, he was a little bit different than my eldest. He learnt phonetically with reading eggs, like I say, but he was not interested in reading any phonics books. What he preferred were these Ladybird books. Now, I think that anyone growing up in the 90s in England probably remembers these. I definitely do. I had several of these, and I got some of these actually from my nan's house when she passed away. They don't teach, we obviously in the 90s did not learn to read through phonics. I think we learnt more through sight words. And so these are based on just common sight words. and are not appropriate for like beginning stage reading. Again, like my daughter couldn't do them yet, but my son, I can't remember how far through reading eggs he was, earlier than level 15 when he started to read these, and he much preferred them to the reading eggs books. And so I've kept these as well in case my daughter's the same. They've got a bit more story to them than the other ones, I have to say, because they're not sticking to the phonics rules, which are a bit limited in terms of story. And so, yeah, so I've kept these aside, and these are another resource that I may use with her. And the final thing I have to show you that I've just got out the cupboard for my daughter are these flashcards. So I'm sure if you have a Twinkle account, which I do now, that you could probably download these and just laminate them yourselves. But I picked them up from the Works, I believe, and they were £4 each. And I got them when I was teaching my middle son to read. They, again, are a little bit advanced for where we're at right now, but I remember using them with my middle son and they were fun. They had like some star stickers and he enjoyed the pictures and things. And so I think as my daughter progresses with her reading, then I may pull these out and do a little bit of flashcard work with her. For the moment, if I'm going to do similar, then I'll probably use these sandpaper letters that I created. And again, I downloaded the template from Twinkle. So if you have a Twinkle account, there's so much stuff on there for right the way through school, really, primary school at least, but for reception age children certainly. Yeah, so I will keep you updated with how we get on with Learn to Read. It's quite exciting, the prospect of having 3 children who all know how to read. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. If you are teaching your child how to read at the moment, then please let me know in the comments. I would love to connect with you. And stay tuned for my next video. Bye.